Yes, sir, humanity. I'm so happy to be with you today, guys. Like I just told my two guests that I will present to you really soon. Why I'm doing some international debate, and this one is about education, the importance of education. It's because I really think that the society, the world, are not with the human into its center, and I think that we have to redo it, to rethink it, to make it for humanity to be in the center, like I said. And education is really important. I think it's like fundamental for society to be in good form. So yeah, I'm doing debate because I want to prove to humanity as well that we can all debate in respect without necessarily having the same opinion. So today we have two guests, two wonderful friend of me. I'm so happy. It's an honor for me. We have Supriya and we have Matt. How are you?
Ladies first.
You're great.
Yeah, I will
I'm
say
doing very
okay.
good,
Okay.
thank you.
When I ask a question, let's do it right now. When I ask a question, Supriya first, then Matt, and if you want to add something, you can just go ahead, and it's going to be like that. It's the first time I'm doing that debate, so it's kind of new to me also. So yeah. So how are you doing? You're good, Matt. You're good.
You're
So
all good and good to
just,
go.
just before we
I'm doing
start.
very good. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm very excited to be talking finally on one of your shows. You seem to have everybody other than me on, so let's get to it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go, like I always say. So yeah, so for introduction, just before we start with the debate, which is the main question: what place should education occupy in any human society? Just present yourself a little bit for people to know you a little bit more, please, Supriya.
Well, a very good evening from India. This is Dr. Supriya. And as you know, I'm an international speaker and LP coach, communication and leadership coach. And currently, I am the Kiddo CCO and a latte show host. So that's a very small intro of mine. And Joe, thank you so much for giving me this golden opportunity for presenting my views on a very, very, very special topic, which is very close to my heart, that is education. Ladies and gentlemen, as you asked me the question of education, so there is no doubt that education is a light. Education is the backbone of any country, and education is that light without which your life will be dark. So, if you are talking about my country, Joe, and your question, that says only one thing, that it has to be changed from time to time.
Okay.
When we are talking about updating the software, when from time to time we update it, don't you think that we should update our education system also, bringing new technologies, bringing new reformants, bringing new movements, and bringing new sort of changes which makes education just not like education. The education should be so much lucrative with your ideas, with your flow of knowledge, that there should be no pressure on our children
So
to get
true.
educated. They should love their education the way they love their games, their puzzles,
Yeah.
and their science topics. So this is all I want to conclude. And Matt, would you like to say anything or anything you want to add? Most
No,
welcome.
you said it all. No, I'll add some things. Hi, my name is Matt Allen. As the writing under me, I did some education. That says founder of Kudos Miracles and Democrat. That's me. And yeah, so I basically solve some of the world's biggest problems by providing a solution that is based upon people rather than just a few people. So basically to figure out ways that benefit the world rather than benefiting a few people in
Yeah.
elite and currently powerful positions. And I do that through visionary thinking. What do I think about education? This is a very difficult subject for me
We
because,
gonna I'm gonna ask question anyway about it, so we can just
okay,
it's gonna be better for you, I think, to like if I kind of align you, if I can say. So,
Sure.
so we're gonna start with the first question. So thank you for you two to be there. So introduction. The education is known other than happiness itself. It is to give meaning to each person's life, to elevate them towards a truly human life. What do you think of these comments about education, Supriya?
Well, very, very controversial statement, I can say. Well, education should be given, and education should not be. First of all, I would love to say it should not be a gender bias, which I can say in most of the countries it's happening. No, education is meant only for the males, not for the females. But rather than education should be given freely and with open-handed to everyone, because it is the birthright to educate every human being. When
Yeah,
we are educating a person, we are educating a society. An
exactly.
educated mind, trust me, friends, an educated mind is very, very different from a non educated mind. So I think, Joe, with your question, I would like to say only one thing. It is the light, it is the like, or you can say a very great thing, a great path for the success, for your betterment, and for your transformation into the best ones. And without education, your life is like a dark cloud. That's what I can say. Yes.
Wow, I like it. I think the same actually. And you, Matt, what do you think about it?
So, like I was beginning to say earlier, this is a very difficult subject for me in some ways because my educational background is very limited.
Yeah,
I very much come from a well-educated country in perception from most other countries. I come from a country that is particularly wealthy from the viewpoint of other countries and other people. And they believe that the education system that exists here in the UK is fundamentally accessible by all and appropriate for all. My experience has been a little bit different to people, particularly because I'm not very cohesive towards education, the way that it's fundamentally delivered in school. And because I didn't fit into that regime at school, I very much didn't fit in and lost interest because there was little that entertained me in that sense. And I tend to play about with things, as you might have already noticed. That play and that enthusiasm that I have for things that excite me enable me to think very extensively and deeply about some things. And one thing that I think about education, particularly traditionally in our country and many other places, may well be that it is passed down from the powers that be. It is a way of currently educating people in the narrative and the historical viewpoint of particular cultural aspects and political and sociological aspects of our communities, which are not truly necessarily representative of the whole community. For instance, what Supriya was saying about only being for males, for example, traditionally in many respects in many countries. Or in different places being for, I don't know, like in South Africa historically in apartheid, so only being for people of a particular color. That doesn't help the world. That doesn't help any movement forwards. That is not education. That is a limited view of the world and doesn't allow people to progress or develop into something far better. And maybe that's because that system is designed to limit rather than to enable.
yeah. And actually, what you're saying, I can say it's the same here in Canada and in Quebec. I think that there's some people, the system is made for them, and it's kind of controlling like what you're gonna learn, all the things they want you to learn to be in the system after it. But like I said, it's not human to think like that. I think that we have to go back to humanity, to, like Supriya said earlier, to get to our creative person, to our passion, what makes us being happy, what we want to create in that world. That's what I think. And I don't know if you agree with that.
I do entirely. Creativity is something that I struggle with as well.
Yeah.
many people tell me that I'm a creative person, but I don't really see that in myself. I see other things that other people create, from amazing buildings through to pictures, through to movies and all sorts of things. And I look at what I create and I think, well, it's just a very straightforward, simple thing. It's not that vast or interesting or complex. Very simple. But sometimes I guess creativity can be simple. And it's not always our view of that. It's the viewpoint of other people that makes that thing creative and appealing.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I always say that we create our life every day. So you're a creator. We are all creator of our life. And I think creativity is not just what it's not just like what you think it is. It's everything. It's just being yourself is creative. Because like I say, you create your life, you create your goals, you achieve them, you try to do it, you create relation with people. So I think it's like you say, it's kind of simple because it's human, but at the same time it's really complex because it's human. So
Yeah. I was talking to somebody a couple of days ago, a friend of mine who actually is from France and speaks French like you.
Yeah.
I'm from England and I barely speak English, let alone French. So I hope that I put myself across well. But we were talking about the journey of life and creativity and our experiences. And a way to look at that is a bit like a mosaic, right? Like a mosaic that's made up of different pieces, like triangles and squares and really
okay, yeah.
shapes, because none of them are uniform. And we all have these different constitutional parts of a mosaic, and some of us have more and some of us have less. And like you were saying, some of those things might be our education, they might be our travel experiences, they might be our relationships, they might be, I don't know, like just a particular smell that reminds us of things. And those things go to make up our mosaic. And all of us have different pieces, and sometimes those pieces look very similar. And the jumbling up of our lives and the mix up of the things that we go through and our experiences, and as we lay out that mosaic of those different pieces, which may look like other pieces from other people's mosaics, we end up always with a very different picture, a very different, unique stance, because we are people and we are all very unique. Except we're very unified as well, because we all have that mosaic. We all have that picture at the end of our lives that we look at. Like I was saying a moment ago, I look at mine and I think, oh, that looks like this. Or Supriya might look at my life, and she knows quite a bit about my life. She might look at that a different way, because we all have different perceptions, as well as a different picture that we create for ourselves and for the outside world as well, in many respects.
Yeah, makes really, that's, I think the same. And actually, I think we're getting to the same point right now. I didn't understand at the beginning, but yeah, exactly. Thank you for your answer. Now, we were talking about the meaning of life by education. A little bit like Supriya said earlier, this meaning in life must be found, experienced. It cannot be imposed. What do you think about it, actually, Matt? Because you didn't really think about that, really talk about that, sorry.
So, like I said, I don't really have much in the way of educational background. What I do have is experience. In fact, in many respects, I don't read books. I've never read a single book in my life. Not cover to cover. I've read the backs of the books and understand what they're about, but I've never actually read a full book. And so my very fundamental experience of life is built upon experience. It's built upon what I perceive of the world, what I think of the world, rather than what I'm told in a book. And traditionally, that's how education happens, is that you go to school, you read a book, and they tell you what the book means. You're not left to figure that out for yourself, especially early on. And as life develops, certain people read those books and come to their own conclusions and read books that aren't maybe on the approved reading list, which leads them to other information and leads them to think in their own unique way. I'm very different to most people, and most people would look at me and laugh at me and say, you haven't read a book. How on earth can you have any opinion on life or any insight into what life is about? But that's because I live life. I live life through experience, and
Yeah.
the education has been vast and wide in many respects through my journey of life. And many people refer to the school of life or the university of life and what that teaches them. And I'm very much a studier of that.
Yeah, it makes sense, and I think that because of your journey, it may makes more sense because you didn't really at your place at school. But for books, I have something to say. I love reading, and I don't take it personally that you don't read book. I don't. It's all yours, and it's
Yeah.
all good, and I respect it. But what I'm doing, because I think the same of you, we don't have to read a book and think that everything is saying is real and it's true. What I'm doing, it's when I read something, exactly like when I'm talking to somebody and I learn from that person, I learn what I think I have to learn. I take a part of it, and then I take a part of another book, another person, another book, and then I make myself something for me that I think it's my reality, and I think that it's true for myself. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yeah. And again, we're back to that mosaic of life. Like you take a
Yeah,
particular part from that, and
exactly.
that's the important thing for you. And maybe that's because a piece of your mosaic is missing, or because you want to add something in or take something away from what you've learned through life in that process. And that
Mhm.
helps us to build up that picture of who we are, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you for that answer. Next question. We're going to talk a little bit about what is education, actually, because education is not just school at all. I think it's, like you said, University of Life. We have a lot of experience to live, to go through. So this first brings the individual to culture. And what is culture? The word culture rightly refers us straight away to life of a tree or a garden, for example, rather than to some artificial model. It suggests the continuity of growth specific to life, self development, but also a certain fragility and dependence on the environment. So, what do you think about this analogy, Supriya?
Well, environment, if I talk about, if I give you just imagine an environment. A, you can't do anything in life, Joe. You are very, 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 very bad. You are sunken. You have negativity. You can't do this. You don't have facilities in your country. And you cannot succeed. A
Yeah.
environment. Number B environment. Joe, you have ample amount of knowledge. You have ample amount of experiences. You have ample amount of books. And with your determination, dedication, perseverance, you can achieve anything in this world. B. Now, the wordings which I have given in my A scene, 100%, even no matter how much Joe is educated, he's having a lot of dreams, he's having a lot of bundle of knowledge. But with the sunken environment, negative attitude, negative beliefs, negative speeches, he lost confidence. He don't know what to do next. But with the B environment, when I gave to him, you can do. Definitely, no matter Joe is unaware of the education, he's not having any ample amount of resources. He don't know anything about his subject. He's not a subject matter expert. But still, the motivation, the perseverance, the push-ups in life, which says you can do, definitely that positive environment will create a lot of positive sprouts. And when I say the sprouts of a tree, sprouts of a human being, it will always and always result into a positive tree or your positive outcome. So for me, according to me, environment is very, very important for any education system to get flourish. Now, education, degree, books, experiences, these are all different aspects of life, of education.
Yeah.
In most of the country where I see education is just like 2 into 2, 4, 2 into 3, 6, 2 into 4, 8, 2, 5, 10, 2, 6, up. The child is unaware. The thing is, why it's happening, not what it is. When you will tell the reasons, the behind, what is the reasons behind a science experiments, why it's happening, you should create, not imposed. And the culture, the environment says the education should be like watching a TV, watching any serial, watching any
Yeah.
Netflix. The child should take a lot of interest. Why a child? When you said about your environment, when we ask any child to sing a song, he or she can sing a song very easily. But when I will say a child to speak any lesson or to say any answer, he or she will stammer. Why? Because that interest is not there. So the interest will come only with the motivation of
Yeah.
the environment. So whatever the environment is, always make your environment positive and according to your beliefs, because what you believe you will get, no matter what you are. But still, make the environment very easy going, very healthy, and you will believe, no matter your ways are tough, your road of path of success is tough, but when you're happy from inside, when your environment is flourish, when your environment is favorable, you can do anything in this world. So make
Wow.
your environment very favorable, very positive. And education environment, I would add this thing: please make your education system a practical knowledge. It should not be what is the side of a cube. A child has to work up, cramming like a parrot. No, rather you should show this cube or this cuboid or this rectangle has 6 faces. So go for the practical knowledge
Yeah.
rather imposing for a difficult and a cramming and this and that. Make the education system just like watching your favorite serial or playing your favorite hobby or favorite sports. And definitely there will be no change in the
Yeah.
advancement of the education system. When you love what you do, you love what you do, and you do what you love. So that's what I can say for this answer.
I
Yes.
love it. Thank you for your answer. I love it, and environment is really important. Like you said, I always say we are as strong as people around us. So kind of the same thing. But you explained it really well. Thank you. And you, Matt, do you have something to add?
Mm.
You did pretty
Again,
well, right?
yeah, I'm going to come from a different angle yet
Yeah.
again, but and my angle is not, unfortunate, not as positive as Supriya's. My growth as a child basically was very negative, and it should be positive for every child, and that
Yeah.
should be the way of the world. It should be that everybody grows up in a positive and nurturing environment. Then sometimes it's possible for people, despite their environment or what is nurtured in them, to become very different or to fight against the thing that they are being propelled towards. And we spoke a little bit about perception earlier, and you're talking about a tree. So let's talk about perception and trees. So we're familiar nowadays with filters on cameras or on our smartphones when we take pictures of different people and different things. And we very much know to a large degree what a thing actually looks like and what the filter is doing to it. Even if we see 3 pictures in a row and we get told, pick the real one, which one's the real tree, we'll mostly pick the real tree because we mostly know what that tree looks and feels and depicts as.
Yeah.
Now let's imagine the education is that tree, and the
So true.
systems that deliver that tree, they're the different filters that we get to see that tree through. because I don't know, education wants us to look at it one way and life teaches us a different way. And some countries, they have a different filter applied to that tree because they have a particular political system, let's say. And that political system dictates eventually what is taught in school, because it comes down from the powers that be. They have the education authority usually in any country, and that depicts what eventually those children learn and what they get tested upon. And if you want to pass, then you have to conform to what that filter of that tree looks like in your particular educational setting. Whether that's a true image of what that tree is, whether it's true history, because there is much of history that doesn't get taught in traditional schools. And certainly some of it gets left out, and some of it is more privileged information that you can find elsewhere. Again, it comes down to how we see the world, how the world is presented to us, and historically as well. Like, we get education sometimes, not necessarily all the time, but sometimes people get education from their parents or their elders, and that's because they respect those people. But what if those people have been shown the wrong filter of what that tree looks like? What if those people have been misguided by a tree looking, I don't know, blue and green, but the tree trunk being green and the leaves being blue? It doesn't really represent the true tree. But to that person who's been educated in that way and hasn't questioned that education, that's very much the way that that tree should look. And as they walk around life, they look at the other trees and they think, that's not a tree, until they suddenly start to realize, actually, they're the trees, and what I get taught, that wasn't the real filter. And that begins to make people want to question things that they get taught
so
in
true.
school. And that's where I think we are all at, in that sense of what we were talking about earlier, in wanting to get a better education system that truly educates young people and elderly people as well, because in some respects they've either not been taught the right things, or some of the things that they have been taught are true and correct. I'm not here to decide for those people. I'm not the greatest educated person in any room, certainly not in this one. But there are people who know the truth, and that should be what we rely upon for education, is the truth, not something fragmented into a picture that other powerful entities want us to learn, because that doesn't benefit people, that benefits those powerful people.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Really, they're not really powerful. People are powerful, not powerful people.
What do you think about that, Supriya?
Very true. I reciprocate the same with Matt. Yes, we have to be. And one thing I would love to add over here, like as I said about degrees, experiences, and education. Education is your overall development from your mind, body, soul, and your overall entity should be changed, personality. And degrees, if I say, some people have big, big degrees, but they don't have knowledge. And trust me, experiences are the best teachers. For that, you need not to take any degrees. There are so many people I've seen, they have enormous experiences. If I, for example, if there are two doctors, one is 30 years experience and one doctor is fresher, he's just have a good degree, he's just a topper, but he don't know how to do operate, then that patient, I mean, he can keep one scissor in his patient and can stitch because he's ignorant. But if you do have experiences, or 30 years experiences, then that patient,
it's so true.
Right? So your experiences matter a lot than your degrees, and your education will value for your knowledge. So experiences, degrees, knowledge, all has to be balanced in life. And that's says balance is the key to success in every field. Whatever it is your life skills, your education skills, and your experience skills. So that's what I would love to add. In the Matt's point, already he has stated a very solid points. So that's it. Fantastic. Yeah.
Wow, thank you both of you for the answer. And now, actually, we were kind of talking about it. So I think you can agree both that we have to rethink the education system in the world. So what would you do to restart with the new education, Matt?
This is probably easier for me than most people because I very much, like I said at the beginning, I solve some of the biggest problems in the world. I hold solutions to some of the things that are really fundamentally wrong with our society and economies and many things beside. But education is an interesting question in the sense of how should it be reformed? How should it look? Some of that comes from how government should look, how the authorities that govern what education should be interested in. They should be interested in people. They should be interested in the benefit of society, so that then the top-down approach that we currently have, if that's to remain, then realistically the people who do that, they need to change. That's fundamental change number one, is that those people need to understand that education is for the betterment of people, not about delivering a message that supports their particular political or societal desire. That should be governed by people and truth, like I said before. And then moving that down into what is actually deliverable. Really, we're at a stage now where we need to be thinking about life skills. We need to move away from this whole approach of putting people on a conveyor belt, pushing them along the conveyor belt, and out the other end pops a lawyer, a solicitor, a bus driver, a chef. That tends to be what education is focused upon, is creating this conveyor belt system that makes a lot of money for the people who are involved in the education system. You look at university courses and the price of those compared to how much money people can earn doing the job that they are trained to do. That doesn't make sense anymore. So we need to rethink this, and not just from one angle, but from many. And what we need to do is to equip people. And I was having a conversation with somebody just this afternoon about this very fact, is that we need to deliver a core of skills that enables people to adapt to whatever the thing is that they want to do. And we need to be about doing what people want to do. We need to enable that rather than telling people this is what you should do. This is the way that you should do it. And don't get me wrong, there are terms and particular things that need to be technically done. And Supriya was talking about depicting her phone, and how to describe that. But there's different people that need to describe that phone in different ways. So we need to account for that as well. There is data that can be true in the sense of, like we said, a cube has 6 sides. That is an undeniable fact. Then people need to be educated in those facts. But at the same time, we also need to be in a position where we can question facts.
Exactly.
And realize whether things are actually the truth or not. A cube also has an inside and an outside. So in fact, actually, it has a few more entities to it. And perhaps people can think beyond what's inside or outside the box. And realistically, that conveyor belt, which is filled with boxes all traveling along to the end, many people don't fit inside those boxes. Many people are pushed off by the education system, a bit like me and what I explained early on. I didn't fit inside one of those boxes. And so I decided that my box shouldn't fit on that conveyor belt. Whereas other people might be pushed off the conveyor belt, or they might just get to the end and not be able to disappear out the end of it because they don't fit in the testing system that exists for example. Many of those things don't fit with people. And if you look to beyond education, where people have been boxed up and delivered to their jobs, then you look at recently post-COVID with the big walkout and everybody deciding, well, actually, I don't want to do that. I want to do this because that's what makes me happy. You start to realize that fundamentally people realize there's an issue with something that they've been boxed up to be. Isn't it better to realize what we actually are rather than trying to fit us all into these boxes?
Yeah, thinking out of the box, like you said, I think that's a good point. Actually, what you think about it, Supriya, and what you want to add? What would you do for making education better?
making your education better is always in a person's hand, but we have to do sort of some movements, like if you are doing Joe positive movement, P plus movement, and this is really a great movement. So like that, we can also take our education system to be a movement for just focus for the practical knowledge rather than imposing, pressurizing. Because in most of the schools, what I found, some of the students have complained, when they write the answers in their own language, they will not get that much when in compared to the students who will cram those answers and produce the same replica in their answer sheets. So that has to be changed. And of course, the practicality which I am talking about, taking them to biological
Yeah.
gardens, zoological gardens. If you are teaching reticulate venation and a parallel venation, my God, I'm just remembering my biology where the leaf chapter was there. And when my ma'am used to teach me, this is reticulate venation, this is parallel venation, I used to get confused. So rather than every Saturday or Sunday or weekends or any day, you can take a trip to zoo. You can tell
Yeah.
this is your reticulate venation, this is your parallel venation. And that time, when I was a child, I used to cram few of the definition because I was unaware what exactly is reticulate. But when
So,
your man will show you this is the reticulate, this is the people tree, this is the banyan tree, and it has got the same longitudes or horizontal slides, you can very well grasp when your teacher is telling C plus O2, CO2, you don't know what is CO2. But when you take it to the chemistry lab and you will do the experiments,
yeah.
carbon plus oxygen giving the carbon dioxide, 2 moles of oxygen, 2 moles of carbon dioxide, you will learn quickly. And this is not, I am telling some cooked up story. This is my own life, childhood experiences. And when a child should go to his or her teacher should be so compassionate that that student should not get fear. So a fearless education must be there, where a child and a teacher is just like friends. Most of the students which I had seen, even in my childhood when I was in class 8 and I had a fear for trigonometry, my God, those formulas are still coming in my dreams, and I am in my dream, I used to cram those formulas. So that formula is still, it should be very easy. No subject is tough or easy. The way you are teaching a subject makes a difficult or easy.
Yeah.
So for all the teachers, for all the mentors, I would say only one thing to change in the education system, and that is liberality. Your relationship with your student should be friendly, not as a nightmare, or not a teacher who gives a lot of depression, lots of bullying, so all sort of negative environment. Education system should be free, should be very easy to grasp, and lot of practical knowledge, lot of visiting your biological, your zoological, your chemistry labs, your physics labs, and make tedious subject, very tough subject like physics. If you talk about physics, Newton law of motion, to every action there is equal and opposite reaction. Please place those reactions. Please
Yeah.
show those chemical things or those experiments in front of your students. Your experiments speaks lot than your theoretical or theory or any laws in any
Wow.
book. And if you want to change any law in any book, be courteous. And that courteous, that your liberality, that your humbleness, being as a teacher, will change your entire education system. And
Wow.
that day, there will be no fear between a teacher and a student. There will be no depression. There will be no childhood memories. Do you know one thing? A person's a person's personality depends upon what? This is a debate system, but I'm asking you both. A person personality depends upon the 5 years blueprint of his childhood. A childhood memories plays a very, very important
Yeah.
role.
So true.
And here, I would love to thank to my father, who has given me a beautiful childhood. Because of that, I have got a lot of confidence in my life, and who
Yeah.
he will always say to me that don't cram, don't run after your education, don't learn, mug up all these formulas. Rather, understand and trust me. That time, my confidence, which was used to be low, it is to be high. That says your environment plays a very, very important role in sculpting your personality. Your 5 years of childhood memories should be
Yeah.
damn good, should be damn supportive, if not from your teachers, but from your parents' side, that
Parents is
they
so
will give
important.
you
Yeah.
the better, best human being of the life. And education doesn't mean
Yeah.
degrees. Education means to make you the best person of your life with
Wow.
your morals, values, ethics, which makes you a real human being. And you can pass every toughest challenge of your life, toughest exams of your life, because till your life, your parents will not be there. Till your life, your teachers will not be there. Till your life, your moral values, your ethics, your values, your perseverance, your hard work, your dedication, and your bravery, your courage makes you a better human being, a better person, a better educated person. That's what I can say.
Wow. I can just add wow. I think the same actually. I just think the same, and I love it because you have two different angles. Like Supriya is about the environment and about always getting involved in education and having fun doing it, and we have Matt that wants us to think out of the box, and I think it's a good mix actually, that having fun and thinking out of the box, having the right to think out of the box, like having the right to ask question and not be like oh no, don't ask that question, but why, just tell me why. And yes, it start when we are so young. It start at the beginning of our life with our parents, and I used to say that children are going too fast at school. I think they're not with the parents for a long time, and I think it's a problem for us here. Actually, I think it's a problem because sometimes at 4 or 5 years old they're at school, and I don't know. I feel like the parents should have the responsibility of their kids for more time than just those 4 or 5 years.
Well, and even if you look at parenting leave or maternity leave and things like that, once the child's born, and I was talking again to a HR consultant earlier on about the fact of when people have maternity leave and parental leave afterwards, they spend time with their children. And this conversation came up with another friend of mine earlier from Spain, in the sense that those times are the fundamental building times, like Supriya was saying, the first 5 years of a child's life. Like, how important is it to get that right? That's the fundamental point, that the building blocks of who that person will become. Majority. In that's not to say that people are always defined by those first 5 years, but if we give them the best opportunity from that, even if an employer looks at that from the fact of those people are going to be much better employees if they get time to spend with their children and
of
spend
course. Oh yeah,
those
of course.
What better employees would they make that have educated their own children and experienced that joy, that when they go back to work, having been given that opportunity to spend more time with the most important thing fundamentally in their life, how rewarding is it to go back to work and be able to say thank you to their employer for, you give me the time of brilliance to spend with my young child.
Exactly.
And to bring those skills that they've adapted their life to, because it's a very different existence to somebody who doesn't have children. How they've had to adapt to look after the child and educate the child, and what they've done to cope with the difficulties that come with having children around, and all sorts of different skills that they might not have from traditional education. We're back into life skills, in the sense that they go back to work and they've become so much more than what potentially they were before. And it just seems logical to everybody, and yet very much the education system and the ability of employers to think again outside of the box, to realize the benefit of something beyond get back to work as soon as possible, we need you to produce another box. Hold on, isn't the point that we're getting outside the box? So let's think about that differently.
Yeah, makes sense actually, and like I said, you have a good mix of two angles, different, but that are kind of coming together, I think, for myself actually. So yeah, thank you for all of this. In conclusion, my last question: what would be your message of hope for humanity to get culture and education abundance? Supriya.
Well, my message will be only one, and that says work in harmony, work in peace, rather than taking out, you can say, long agendas, long making false promises for the education system, entire education system. Let's work, because enough and enough we have talked about, chalk out the plans, jot down the points, but firmness of mind and promptness of action leads to success. So just be in action, make your plans, but it's a high time. Let's put it in action. Let's implement these plans for the betterment of our society, humanity, and education. And if you
Yeah.
want to change this education system, only one thing: please bring a great change in the advancement of practical knowledge. That's very important. And a courteous, harmony relationship between a teacher and a student. That's it.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you, my friend. And you, Matt. What would you say to people for spreading hope to humanity?
So I talk about this a lot because it's something that we at Kudos deal with. We're developing our solutions and bringing them to market, really, in the sense of we are towards the end of our journey of preparing what we have to offer to humanity. Part of that is education, and part of that goes well beyond them. We've talked about some of the exterior factors that contribute to the education system as it is currently. And those factors actually play a large degree of influence upon much of our lives, whether that is through the videos that we can see on social media platforms, through to the products that we can buy on the shop shelves, to the medicine that we are told is good for us, through to the financial system that we quite often get confused about or bamboozled by. And those people seem to, even if they make mistakes, they seem to be rewarded for them, which seems counterintuitive to the rest of us who fit within a system that very much says you do something wrong and you get punished. And yet the people in power, the people with the money, they do something wrong and they seem to get more power and more money. That doesn't really seem right to people. And that is fundamentally something that many people see now, is that the world is filled with what should have been promise and opportunity from our viewpoint as small children, maybe 4 or 5 years old, thinking, yeah, when I grow old, I'd like to be a teacher, or I'd like to be a fireman, or I'd like to be a bus driver, like I said earlier. And maybe those things were representative of future that we saw through our own eyes as that tree that was unfiltered. And what happens is that education and many other factors that control us are making us see the world through a different filter as we've gone along that life journey. And now we have opened our eyes to what the world is really like. And people are starting to question what the tree really is like, because we understand and feel what a tree looks like.
Yeah.
We understand and feel that sometimes we are not getting told the truth. And that sometimes, even if that is the truth, that's because that's the system that other people have created that benefits them. And that is really the hope that we should all have, is that the world is coming to a change. The hope is that people are really responsible for making that change happen.
Yeah.
Organizations like mine, and maybe some others, I don't know, I don't come across many that do what we do. But we represent real change for people. We represent an opportunity to do things differently, not just for the benefit of those few people who put the filters onto our lives so that then we see things the way that they potentially want us to see. But back to that word truth, which is that we all need to benefit for us all to benefit. We need to change everything in order to make any change. And that applies to education as well. We need to change the food that those children eat, potentially planting trees for them to walk along the road to eat on the way to school, rather than stopping at a sweet shop to fill them full of poison in the sweets that they eat because we think that's doing them good. That's not doing them good. We need to change those things, and not in a dictatorial way or a nanny society. People should still have the choice. There should still be some sweet shops along the way. Everybody wants to have a little treat, and there's nothing wrong with a treat. But what's the truth? The truth is that sugar is poison. The truth is that we are seeing trees still through a different filter than what potentially they are actually in existence in. And that truth is what is going to set us free. That truth is people. And that is why we are all miracles that make our own picture of unique mosaics that form together to make a more wonderful mosaic of everybody's picture together.
Wow.
Let's do it.
I love it. I love it. And we will have the occasion to talk about kudos for sure, miracles. Thank you so much. Seriously. It was a good debate for me. I hope you love it. And I had something else to add. What was it? I don't remember. Oh yeah, I think that what we can say also. I'm always saying that. I think that I want to add it to what you say. Human think the system that we have right now, so we can and we have to rethink that system with humanity. Because it's possible. They already think it with humanity. So it's not like some kind of other species to the system. It's us. So it's not us, but it's humanity. So we can restart it again with all being together. And that's what we're trying to do right now. So thank you really much.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, of course you can. Yes.
We're talking about education. We're talking about learning. And learning from history and whatnot, and learning lessons of data and stuff. Here's a few facts. We've been learning for millennia. We've been learning for a very long time. We've been living life and experiencing life since we began. And very much life today is still much of what it was in the past. There is still slavery. There is still exploitation.
Yeah.
There is still manipulation. There is still a lot of bad things in our world. We're in 2024. We should be able to think differently. We should be able to learn from the lessons of the past, the lessons of today, even still, where we have wars raging in different parts of the world. Mm-hmm. We should be able to move on from that and look for a much better and brighter future. You want to talk about hope. Let's change the world so that then it truly benefits people, exactly. Not just the rich and powerful. That is what true education is about learning to do things differently, not learning to do things the same way that has resulted in the same thing over such a long period of time. It is time for us to do better, I think.
It is. Wow. Thank you for that answer. Really, I love it. And that's why People's Movement is there as well. To help people rethink the world. It's important. We have to get through humanity again. I think it's not that anymore, and we have to go through it. We experience life, like you said, enough to know what we do now, what we have to do now. So just do it.
And one last thing, and don't take this personally. If there's ever a reason why people should have true education rather than the way that I've done it, so my feeble brain reads your thing, which says proper positivity, effectively, and you'll sit there in a greeny blue top, and all that I can think of is proper Smurf. If there's ever an indication as to why people should have proper education as opposed to my education, that is it, because that's all that I can think of for that.
So yeah, exactly. So like I said, thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you for people to watch. And don't hesitate to debate with us in the comments, with respect, of course. And that's it. So I would just say have a good day, night. I don't remember. Night, I think. Well, yeah, night for you. And
late afternoon.
For me, it's night, yeah.
Yeah, night for you, Supriya. So thank you again really much.
Thank you so much for this great opportunity. We really, really loved it. I just loved it. That's really great one. Yes.
Thank you.
I have loved it too. It has been an absolute blessing to have been here and discussed many things. Supriya and I obviously work together. We are part of the same organization. And in some ways, like you've said all along, we have aligned but different viewpoints in some
Yeah.
ways. Very much everybody feels the same, and it's very much a case of trying to find the commonality between people rather than finding the differences. And that's been one of the great privileges of being here today. So I very much appreciate you, Joe, and it's been a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again. So thank you, everybody, and have a good night.
Bye. Bye. Bye, everyone.